So some fascinating charts were posted to Twitter showing increasing political polarization around some key issues of just like basic self-esteem, basic self-worth. And these things seem to be splitting, like there seems to be more of an ideological divide in these feelings over time. Let's go ahead and put this up on the screen so you can get a sense of what we're talking about here. So you've got some questions like, on the whole, I'm satisfied with myself. So you have a spike in Democrats who disagree with that sentiment over Republicans. How satisfied are you with your life as a whole these days? You, again, have Democrats really dissatisfied with their lives and an increasing divide there. Same thing with life often seems meaningless. I enjoy life as much as anyone. This one has potentially the biggest spike here, which I actually thought was kind of revealing. The future often seems hopeless. You got nearly 40% of Democrats who agree with that. Again, that has really spiked very recently in recent years, whereas the Republican number has shown a recent spike, but not nearly as much as the Democratic number, and that's one of the biggest divides. So kind of fascinating that there seems to be a real split in assessments of the future, in assessments in personal satisfaction, how I feel about myself, how I feel about my life, how I feel about the future, et cetera, between liberals and conservatives. Saagar, what's your take on this?
I do wonder how much of this is generational, though, just because so many young people are liberal. They are going to self-select for more doomerism, and I mean, you can't blame them on one hand. So,
yeah.
But I do think there is something to this. You can see it in the attitudes around COVID. You can see it around safetyism. You can see it around optimism, around the feeling of the country. In some cases, you know, I'm on various different sides of those, so I do tend to understand. But I think the one that is very sad is life often feels meaningless, and a huge spike in the agree number for self-identified liberals. And I enjoy life as much as anyone, with the disagree also spiking as well. So in general, I think this is probably skewed most by generational gaps and by wealth. But there is definitely something like, I'm not going to say spiritual. I don't know. What is it? I don't know what the word is. Epistemological to something about what's going on here.
Yeah, I think the generational point is well taken. I do think it's worth noting on almost all of these metrics, even though the liberal numbers go up at a faster clip, the conservative numbers are rising as well. So you do have increasing levels of like personal dissatisfaction and pessimism rising among the population. And in some ways, I think that's justified. In a lot of ways, I think that's justified. You know, the one about the future often seems hopeless. That one really struck me because, listen, if you're a young person that's looking at, you know, the fact that the air is like unbreathable from wildfires and there's increasing, you know, extreme temperatures and climate catastrophes, and it just seems like there's no end in sight and this is going to continue to spiral out of control. Yeah, it's pretty justified to have some negative feelings around that. And then in terms of personal material conditions, if you are a person who benefited from, you know, growing up and starting your career at a certain age in America, where now you've got a home and you feel pretty solid and you feel pretty stable and you've got a nice little nest egg and you're of that generation, yeah, you're probably going to feel pretty good about things, at least better about things than young people who are like, I'm never going to be able to buy a house. I'm never going to be able to have a family. I'm never going to be able to have kids. I'm never going to be able to have some basic measure of stability. And rather than feeling like, yeah, but things will get better over time, it just seems like we're facing down a landscape of decline.
Yeah.
You know, to bring it back to politics, because that's what we do here, just the specter of we're really going to have Donald Trump and Joe Biden as like the best we can do in politics. I just think that's so symbolic of this sense of national decline, which pervades people's overall feelings of optimism and also, you know, can bleed into their own personal feelings of how their life is likely to go over the coming years.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think a lot of it focuses on future conditions, and that's where I would, you know, the most immediate ones that you can try is cost of living and, you know, and not even educational attainment, but attainment towards or at least the feeling that you can ascend to a higher social class if you work hard enough. That's really, you know, that's all the basic American contract that was there. It's exactly why also that those numbers were much more equalized in the past. So I do think this is a very generational chart. And I think that's actually even more unfortunate than whenever you divided by partisan. Although I do, there is something, even amongst people who are of the same age, in terms of some sorting on these issues, which is not good, by the way, for people to have totally different worldviews.
I think there's always been a divide between liberals and conservatives. Conservatives tend to be like rank higher on levels of happiness, and so there's always been a bit of a split here. But the fact that you have these generational divides coming to the fore, I think, is very noteworthy.
Yep. Agreed. All right, we'll see you guys later.
Hey guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.